Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Organic Humanity Movement. This evening, I'm going to be interviewing a candidate that's running for a by-election in Tshwane, otherwise known as Pretoria. A by-election happens when a councillor either decides to quit or retires or gets fired or for some reason cannot fulfill their role anymore, and that means a seat in council is empty. So elections happen to fill that seat as soon as possible. And a by-election is happening in two places on the same day. It will be happening this Wednesday on the 28th. Margo is our wonderful candidate who I will be interviewing today, so you can get to know a little bit more about her and a little bit more about the Organic Humanity Movement as well. So Margo, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. So happy that you agreed to have this interview. I'm going to ask you a series of 10 questions.
Okay.
Okay. Hope you're ready. So I think the first thing I'd love the viewers to get to understand is what's prompted you to get involved in politics?
So back in 2020, in the lockdown days, I have a preschool. That's what I do for, during my days. And so one of the first things that they closed down was the schools, and it was a big fight to get us to open again. And it was quite shocking for me to look at the state of our public schools or our state schools or whatever the government feels, our government feels that is sufficient for young children and their minds, and what is sufficient to care for their needs. And looking at my school and comparing the two and thinking that, it was just crazy for me to think that the government, I almost want to say, I have no idea how to care for children, but they have the power to close people down who actually do know how to care for children. So that was quite a shock for me. And I've always been one to sort of question things a little bit. Growing up, I was always wondering about paying taxes and, all the serious adult things, and wondering why things work the way they do and why more people don't question. People just do. This is how it works, and you grow up, and this is the system that you fall in, and you just conform and carry on, and then that's it. I was always wondering, I'm not a very confrontational person. I like to keep the peace. It's a big thing for me. So I've never been one to really to fight much, but it was definitely always in my mind wondering why things work the way they do. So and then one day I came across the OHM things, and it was sort of by chance. And when I saw it, then I thought to myself, this is so amazing. And if I had this feeling like I wish this was real, because I didn't know at that moment that I came across it how big it was or how small it was or what the potential is. And I just thought, if this could just work, then everything will change. So I was really excited, and that's actually what got me into it.
Can you just tell me, what is the one thing about OHM specifically that resonated you? What resonated with you? What was the first thing that resonated with you when you came across OHM?
So I'm a Montessori educator, so not a traditional educator. And Montessori is very much focused on independence, developing human beings' independence and self-reliance. All of the things that the OHM stands for, that is exactly what we are doing in our Montessori schools. And that's what got to me. So, it touched my heart right in the beginning.
I seem like a lot of our members, in my experience, has been drawn to OHM, namely because of the principles and values, and specifically freedom, independence, self-reliance, that kind of thing. And I love that you also say that you have such a questioning spirit, that you're always asking why. I definitely think that's something missing in society. I think the reason we are where we are today is because people have accepted the status quo. And it's awesome that we have you as not just a member, but a candidate that is willing to ask why, when most people will just sit back and accept what's happening. So the
Yes.
next question, this is a tough question. A lot of people find this tough, but I think this is just an opportunity for you to share information or share personal, more of a personal story about who you are. So I would like you to tell the viewers more about yourself. Who is Margo?
So I'm 35 years old, and I'm a mother of 3 children. Years back, it was about 10 or 11 years back, my family and I did a personal transformation course, and we were just, it was amazing. It really touched that questioning part of myself. I was a chef before, until I was 36 weeks pregnant with my first child, and I left the kitchen and never went back. It's not really an environment that's conducive to family and so on. And then it was after the courses that we did that I thought more about life and what would be more meaningful to do. And I couldn't think of anything more meaningful than to work with children and to try and better life and the world through our youngest ones. So then I have had 2 more children after that, 2 boys. And then I'm married, I have a husband, and we just like to enjoy each other's company in our free time. And that's what I do.
There's quite a difference from chef to working with children, opening a preschool. Would you say there's any lessons that you learned while being a chef that you carry with you in your day-to-day life today?
Yeah, definitely. It's quite a harsh environment. You just keep your head down and you just work. And it took a lot to open a school. We didn't have much to start off with. And so we sold my car and opened a small, just one small class, and started with babies and grew it from there. Now we have 40 children in the school. So I think it taught me a lot of resilience, and obviously how to cook, and important things about nutrition for the children and so on. So I did learn a lot from being a chef.
That's helpful. What would you say is the most rewarding thing about your work currently, working with children?
There's a lot. And it's quite difficult in today's, in the sort of the state that the world is in, because it's easy to get despondent, and to sort of just pick yourself up and say, it's going to be okay, and this is why we're working so hard and so on. But just when those children come running and just hug me around my legs and just look at me with a lot of love in their eyes, it's really rewarding. I can feel that I mean something to them, and I mean something to them in a very important time of their life, the formative years. So I think that's the most rewarding part.
The formative years are indeed very important, and that's why I'm also so concerned about the state of our education system. What would you say your underlying philosophy is at your school? So
the philosophy of our school is for children to develop in an environment that is the best possible one for human development. We look at how humans develop, us as a natural part of life, and how we are all connected. Everything is interconnected, interrelated, interdependent. But all of that stems from the individual. So to keep that balance between the individual while keeping in mind that we are part of a community and we need to take care of each other. I think that part is probably the most challenging and also the most important.
Definitely. Thank you for that. So I would like to know, just so that the viewers can get to know you better, what has been your most difficult or most challenging experience in your whole life?
Well, firstly, to open our school wasn't easy. The government does not make it easy for anybody to run a small business, and besides just running a small business, they make it even more difficult with all the regulations and policies and things that they have in place, and a lot of them don't even make sense. It really actually just gets in the way. And then besides that, on a personal note, to have had my third child at home, I didn't want to have my child in hospital. It was during the COVID times, and I just didn't feel that I wasn't comfortable in giving birth in a mask. And so I decided I'm going to go for a home birth with a midwife, and it was both the most difficult, physically and mentally, the most difficult thing I'd ever been through. But it was also, I learned a lot from that experience.
That is indeed very brave to go through a home birth. It takes a lot of courage, and that's very inspiring. I suppose your answer will kind of melt into the second question. What is your best or most memorable experience in your life?
Well, definitely the home birth fits right in there with that as well, because as hard as it was also just absolutely amazing. And the way that our bodies are put together, it's miraculous. There's no other way to say it. Just how incredible life is and how perfect nature is. That just taught me that. It was amazing. So I think that's probably becoming a mother was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Well, that is a perfect end to that answer, because the next question is, what do you think being a mother has taught you, specifically with regards to any role in politics? You've been involved with OWN for quite a while now. What has being a mom taught you about politics?
It's definitely taught me that the government, and not only in South Africa, this goes all around the world, governments have way too much power over our lives. When it comes to a point where the government feels that they have more say over our children than we as parents do, over our own flesh and blood, that is not acceptable. So definitely that.
Often when these politicians are making decisions and just shouting out what they want to do for speeches, I often think, but do they have children? Do they actually relate to the future generation and the world that they're building for the future generation?
Yes.
So with that, I would like to ask you, what are your biggest concerns right now? Not just globally, but also in South Africa. What are your biggest concerns for the future?
I think looking at my own children, I was saying yesterday to somebody who doesn't have children, my daughter is turning 10 now, my middle child is turning 6, and then our youngest one is turning 2. And I am extremely concerned with what our children are being exposed to, and how incredibly difficult it is to keep them off social media and just totally inappropriate media and things on TVs and billboards, and anywhere you look. The world isn't really it's not child friendly at all, and adults tend to make decisions that do not take children into account. And our kids are really just growing up way too fast and not in a good way.
I love that you say that the world's not child friendly. It definitely seems so. A lot of the policies and developments happening all over the country and world are not fit for families at all. And certainly not when you look at property prices, inflation, and all of that. It's just not possible to have more children.
Yes, and work hours. There's no time to do quality things with your family. It's just a total rush from the one thing to the next.
And then more specifically in your community where you are standing as a candidate, what are some of the concerns that you have that you think other voters specifically would relate to?
I think we sit with a bit of a problem because most people who live in our area are mostly concerned with how a ward councillor can help them to sort of put out fires, just keep the lights on, make sure there's water in the taps, and fix the potholes. And then as long as that gets done, then it's fine. Then the councillor is doing their job as as best they can. But for me, it's difficult because people don't realize that the policies that are in place, those policies are actually stopping anyone from actually sorting the problems out for good. And a ward councillor is actually only able to put out fires in the system the way it is. I think there's just a much better way of doing things, not to rely on the government for our necessities. I think communities can do things like get together and put up water tankers for example, every 4 houses, pitch in and put in a borehole together, or small things like that, that will make a massive difference. But it just takes a mind shift. And I think not only in my ward or in Ward 83, or it's actually everywhere, is the problem with the mind shift, is to get people to stop seeing government as having to do things for people. That was the one thing that really, really bothered me during the lockdown. I often said to my staff, I don't want anything from the government. I don't want them to give me money so that my doors stay closed. I don't want them to tell me how to do this and how to do that. I just want them to leave me alone and let me do what I know is good and what is best. And yeah, I think that's probably our biggest problem, is that people rely way too much on governments. And just to get away from that, that mind shift, or to get away from that mentality that governments have to do everything for us.
I love that. So slowly lessen our dependence on government so that we can be more free. And yes, I suppose I agree with you there that it's a very, very big challenge to get the average voter to understand the issue is beyond just service delivery. It extends to underlying philosophy within government that continually, year after year, takes away more of our power. So the next question, in your opinion, what do you think the biggest flaw is in South Africa? If you just have to name one thing.
Okay, one thing I would say that is probably one of our biggest problems is the party system, because the party system actually changes our democracy into a dictatorship, because we go out every few years and vote a party into power, and from there on the party just does whatever they like, and we hardly have any say. We have to fight tooth and nail for anything to, for us to get our say into things. And I think that's a really, really big problem that we have.
That's obviously OM's biggest mission, is to be the party to end all parties to bring in a new system where we can all as voters, vote for independence and one day vote for the president of the country. And that'll be quite a large step forward towards a much improved democracy. Before we ask our final question, I'd like to know from you, what are the most important things to you in your life?
Definitely my children and my family. No, there's nothing else that's more important than that.
And would you say that they have been part of the motivating factor to be involved?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, because when there has to be something left for them, for my children. So it's definitely been a motivating factor.
And what has your experience been like as a ward candidate in a by-election? How have you experienced this?
Well, it's always exciting to do anything for the OM. It's really a privilege for me to be able to do something. I really love South Africa. There's nowhere else I want to be. If we can fix our problems, if we can sort out our problems, this will definitely be the best country in the whole entire world. There's no doubt about that. So yeah, for me to be able to do anything for our country and for obviously for my children and other people's children, that's definitely the best part. And it's also been challenging because I am quite shy, and it takes me out of my comfort zone a bit. But it's always good to have a bit of a challenge.
Last question, and then I'll let you go back to your kiddies. What is the one message that you have for South Africa and also for those voting in the by-election on Wednesday?
Just to not be scared. Don't be scared to do things differently. Don't be scared to follow your heart when it comes to making big decisions. Next year, when we go for changing the system and for getting seats in Parliament, it's so important, and it is doable. And I think there's sort of like a bit of a dark cloud hanging over our country at the moment. But if we just focus on what we can do and what each of us can do, I know lots of people that I talk to on a daily basis, the one thing that they say is, but what can we do? There's nothing that we can do. But that's absolutely not true. There is a lot that we can do. And if people don't know where to start, go to the OM's website and go and read through those principles and read through the values and find something in there that you can do, that you can apply to your life. Tell other people that we need to change the system. That's what we need to do. There's nothing else. Doesn't help we worry about load shedding and this and that and contaminated water and the pipes that are falling into, imploding into each other. That doesn't help. If we don't change the system, none of that's going to change.
Margo, it's been great chatting to you. You sound like a woman of strength, very hardworking, a mother of 3 beautiful children. Thank you so much for giving us your time. And we wish you the best of luck during the elections. And I hope you get to speak to lots of people and inspire people with your message on Wednesday. If you live in Tshwane, if you live in Ward 83, and if you don't know which ward you are in, I will put a link below and you can go check. If you live in Ward 83, then please consider going to vote in the by-elections. Vote for Margo, vote for OM, and vote for system change. Thank you so much.